Hey, morning. How's it going? I'm Ricky Stewart. It is time for senior yoga. Exciting stuff as always. Big focus today and always on joint health, on how your joints move and how to keep them healthy. And if you're a normal human being, you have deficits. You've got little weak points. You've got bits that don't work very well. But we can train them. We can teach them how to get better and how to improve just a little bit at a time. And you might not notice them improving like day to day. If you keep up with this and keep consistent with your practice, good things happen and your results sneak up on you because you don't notice them day to day, but they build up. As long as you're keeping consistent and keeping doing the stuff, it'll get better and better and better and better. And it's exciting for me because it works. I've got so many clients that are happy with the improvements in their joint health. And this is senior yoga, so I make it safer if anyone's got joint issues, can't get up and down off the floor. But this still works if you're in peak physical condition. I'm in good condition. I'm in all right shape. Someone who's 38, I'm pretty good. I can run, I can jump, I can be reasonably strong, I can do a handstand. This class here is pretty much how I train. The only thing that changes is that sometimes I do stuff on the floor or hanging off of things. We can't do that here. And plus it's senior yoga, so I wouldn't get you to hang off of anything. But let's get into it. Let's talk more about how to keep you resilient. You can start on your sofa, if this suits you, sat right up at the edge of the sofa. I want your heels down and your feet pulled back so that your heels are down and you can kind of push your feet into the floor and feel yourself start to pick yourself up. And this is getting your ankles to perform in dorsiflexion. But we're not actually going to perform, we're just going to be in this ready position here. If your heels are up, just walk your feet forwards until you can stick those heels down to the floor. Rest your hands on top of your knees. Relax your jaw. Just see if you can close your eyes for a few seconds. Before we get started with any movement, anything exciting, anything that's going to be a bit of a push, just slow everything down. And check in with what you've got going on in your body right now. Like, what is happening? How are you breathing? How are you sitting? How are you holding yourself up? Is it just your skeleton happens to be in the right shape that you don't need to hold on with your muscles? No right or wrong, just asking questions, just seeing what you can feel in your body. Because it's different to what I can feel in mine. And it always will be. And that's all right. It's okay. Breathe all the way in. Close your eyes again, if they're not already. Breathe out in slow motion. And imagine like you're owning every millimetre of the movement that's involved in getting oxygen into your body. And it doesn't just happen by chance. You're in control of this. Keep closing your eyes. And keep breathing. So, let's get started with a little bit of movement. I want you to cross your arms over your shoulders and just squeeze this side bend, side to side. While you're doing this, I want you to start pushing your heels down into the floor so your bum almost lifts off the sofa. We're never going to stand up from this position, but I want you to just feel like both of your heels push down, and it should create a little electrical impulse, a little bit of a current going through your legs. So you've got some stability here, coming all the way up to your hips, and you should be able to feel how you are moving. And all through this class, I'll remind you to stay away from anything that hurts. Now that doesn't mean that you don't get to push and you don't get to put effort in. It should be exhausting, but it should be exhausting at your level. Your level of exhausting is different to mine. You might even be stronger than me in some positions. You might be fitter than me, and that's all right. Or you might be a little bit behind me, or you might be just starting out with any kind of movement, and especially this specific movement for your spine. Then I want you to roll your chest down and feel like you're lengthening the back of your spine. Tuck your chin and hold this here for a second, and then try and rotate while you're in this curled up position. I make a huge emphasis about this articulation of your spine and how you can get it to move and squeeze into each area. So I make a big effort to keep you safe and tell you to keep away from pain. But remember, that doesn't mean that you don't work hard. This has still got to be hard. If we're going to change our bodies, it takes force, it takes a push, it takes effort. We can't do it if we're just all a bit floaty like this, look. I'm not making any effort here. It's not doing anything wrong, I'm not doing bad stuff. But I'm certainly not going to change my body if I just kind of go like this. It's got to be this squeeze and squeeze, and it's the end ranges that will help keep our mid-ranges strong. Then I want you to go into extension, which is, with your fingers still on your shoulders, we're pushing our shoulders back. We're trying to lengthen this side of our bodies, so lengthen all the muscles in your belly, and we're trying to scrunch up the muscles on our back, and then do rotation. You ever get told that getting into certain positions and doing certain things is bad for your body? I kind of don't subscribe to that as a simple statement. If you have mechanical issues, if there's something that doesn't work very well, then for sure there's positions that you probably shouldn't go into because mechanically you aren't prepped, you're not ready to get into those positions. But I think that any shape that the body can go into, you can get it strong in that position. And it just takes this time putting it in that position. It's like that thing of if you take a little bit of poison every day, then you start to build up your resilience to that poison. And that's what I think about when I think about training my knees to come over my toes. That's a classic misconception for the gym and for exercise, that your knees shouldn't pass over your toes. But they pass over my toes all the time away from exercise. Why wouldn't I train them there so that they are resilient? So it's that little bit of poison every day, which is kind of misleading because that kind of says that it is bad, but it's not. Nothing is bad in terms of movement as long as you have the prerequisites. God, it makes me boiling, by the way. I feel like I build up a load of heat in my body when I move around like that. Let's start going into our shoulders. Let's stay seated for this actually. But I want you to keep your feet active on the floor. So you lift your bum up. See how I've lifted up a bit? I've not stood up. I've got the cushion underneath me still, but my feet are pushing through the floor and I can feel these muscles here pushing. I can even turn my hamstrings on as well and make a structure. I want you to reach your arms out like this, probably touching the sides of your sofa, and try and reach for the back wall and reach back further with your fingers just either side of your sofa, about shoulder height, and squeeze back. And then I want you to pick your arms up and bring your hands behind your head. You might not have the shoulder mobility to get there. It might go like this and touch the top of your head. If that's it, that's it. That's what all you've got. Don't change it by doing this, because that's taking it off my shoulder and just put my hands behind my head. I want elbows back as far as they can. Then open your arms back out, reach back and down to the sofa and back up and behind your head and back up down to the sofa. Now let's think about this in a slightly different way. We're going to think about our elbows pulling back, not our hands. Our hands will pull back anyway, but you're trying to get your elbows to go further back. And just that little cue to myself even has changed this movement. At this bit here, I can feel like I'm getting a bit further. See if you can breathe at the same time. If your shoulders don't allow this, then you can move around it. So it could look like this, where you try and get your elbows back. Hurts there, come forwards again. Try and pull your elbows back. If there's pain, come forwards again. And you keep drawing a line around where your shoulders can perform. Let's go one more. Yes. There we go. And then just move your neck side to side. I want you to push your heels into the floor. You've probably forgotten, I did. I started to sink back into the sofa. And move your neck side to side. And just squeeze into this end range. If you can see a mirror, then try and keep both ears visible in the mirror while you do this. Just so that you can see if you've got control over this rotation. Because you might go like this and your body will be like, if you just put your chin here, you've gone further. And you haven't actually, you've just rotated. We're trying to get the muscles around your neck to be able to own their potential for movement. There we go. Breathe. Nice. There we go. All right. Let's do some standing stretches. So you might need to get a chair or something to help you just to hold on to, and that's all right. But we're going to use the arm of your sofa. I think most of you will have an arm of the sofa that's about the right height. We're going to put our heel up on here. If you can't get your foot up this high, then you can use the seat of the sofa like this, and that's fine, that works as well. I'm going to do it here because you can see better, and it's a better height, better structure for me. I want you to rotate your torso like this. So this foot's just on here, and it's just consequence of where this is, depending on your sofa, because we've all got different heights and different height sofas. I just want you to rotate your body and feel what your hip's doing on this standing leg, and it's probably tiring out. You might need to hold on to something, so if you can do it next to a wall, next to another piece of furniture, that's okay. Breathe here and rotate. And then I want you to think about this knee here. We're not going to lock it out like this, so we're not trying to like snap our knee off so it's coming down like this. I want a little bend in it, so there's a little bit of play, and then I want you to lean forwards from the waist, which isn't from the spine. So if I go like this, look, that's coming from my spine. I'm not really getting any further forwards. This bit here stayed the same. I'm after this hinge here, so my chest comes forwards, and it might not look like much, but you hopefully can feel it under here, underneath your hamstring, on the back of your thigh. Just breathe here and relax. And with this standing foot, this is a big deal. What's happening on this standing foot is you training the ability to be strong from here all the way down. If you need help, get some help. Hold on to something. If this is too much, drop your foot down onto the seat of the sofa. It'll be much easier. But you still, same deal, trying to lean forwards like this. And breathe. And we're still in it. And this should be getting tired out, and that's okay. Then I want you to start driving your heel down through the sofa. So you're loading up this hamstring. So we're going to make it strong. So you're pushing down. And really, I want you to push as hard as you possibly can without pain. You know the difference between muscle tiredness and pain. Go for the muscle tiredness, don't go for anything that feels like anything's snapping off. I want this muscle to be able to perform. I want it to be strong. That takes this push. It doesn't matter that this is senior yoga, you're still available to push. You've still got something there to push with. So keep driving this heel down. Grit your teeth a little bit. Breathe a little bit shallower if you have to. Wherever that bit of effort comes from will help you to be able to find a connection from your brain to this muscle. We're still working, still trying to drive this heel down. And then we try and lift our foot up, which nothing will happen. I don't want it to happen. I want you to feel this hip flexor work, and we're going to persuade it that it can do the stuff. Keep lifting this foot up. So you're lifting, 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 trying to tense your belly, tense your bum, and keep trying to lift this foot. Going 3, 2, 1, and then just see if you can curl your spine round and find this stretch. Big deep breaths. Nice. And coming out, then we're going to just check in on this leg. So we're going to do the other leg in a second, but I just want to check in with this leg. Hold this foot out and rotate it like this. So you're on your heel, you try and push the outside of your foot down, you try and push your instep down. Your instep won't touch the floor. Outside of the foot, instep, outside of the foot, instep. I'm just getting this hip to just do some rotation stuff like this so that we can connect this little bit of pocket of you being the most flexible you're going to be all day probably after that big long stretch to some actual action. There we go. Okay, now we've had a little rest, we can have a go with this leg. So pick this foot up, put it onto the arm of your sofa. Remember, you can change this, it can go on the seat of the sofa that's much lower, and you can still lean forward, and you'll still feel the stretch when we get to that, and you can still push down and feel this muscle work. It just depends with what level you are at. Remember, hold on to something. If you think you're in danger of falling over, get a safety net. Just have something to fall back on, not literally, that you can hold on to so you don't hurt yourself. Little bend in this knee, don't look it out, and just lean into this stretch and find it. Oh, sorry, no, let's rotate our chest first. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Rotate, rotate, and rotate, and feel what's going on. Feel this strength in this hip, and your hip's probably jammed into shape here. And when we normally do these rotations stood up, I guarantee your hips, your knees, your ankles will all join in. They might not be so much now. We're trying to train this engine here for rotation because it's important. It helps us move. Breathe and just hinge forwards. Don't lock this knee out, have a little bend in it so that you can feel that you're in control of everything. If we lock our knee, then we start to just hang on our skeleton, which isn't necessarily wrong. I'm not demonising that, but I want you to be able to move around and feel stuff. Hinge, hinge. So your belly stays long. If you feel like you're crunching up like this, that isn't it. Look at my spine. I'm just thinking that I'm getting further because my head's further. Sit up and lean forwards. The reason why I don't like you to lock your knee out here is because there's nerves that run through and around muscles. If those muscles are being stretched and there's a nerve that's never really been, and this muscle's never been stretched, and there's nerves that run through that, we don't want to stretch the nerve because that's a different feeling. You'll probably feel that right in the back of your knee. If you feel that, that isn't it. You might need to bend your knee more and lean until you feel it in the belly of the muscle, like the actual hamstring here is much more beneficial to us than trying to stretch nerves because they don't stretch. So we want to just stretch the muscle. If we lock our knee out, you might find like, even I feel that a little bit. That isn't the feeling. We're not after that. Tense your bum. Don't let these hips swivel out of the way. And keep hinging forwards, keeping your spine long. Keep your big toe pushed down. Now let's get into the hard work of this. Start driving your heel down. And we want to feel a connection to this muscle that we're stretching. And this is our PALS, progressive angle isometric loading. I expect this hip on the standing leg to get tired, to be really tired. Keep driving this heel down. Big deep breaths. Keep pushing down. Keep driving, driving, driving. In 3, 2, 1, and then try and lift your foot. It's not happening. Keep lifting, but it's not happening. Keep trying to find this. And this standing hip is doing just as much work. Going 3, 2, 1, and stretch, and stretch, and stretch. Cool. Then coming out, back down onto the sofa. We're just going to check in with this axial rotation. Breathe. So you're trying to push the outside of your foot down, try and push your instep down. Outside of your foot, instep, outside of your foot, instep. Nice. And then, let's have a little go at some tibial rotation for our knee health. This is so important. I want you to grab hold of your hamstring, clasp your hands together like this underneath your hamstring. And I want you to keep your thighs still and turn your toes to point to the outside of the room. Pick your foot up, try and turn your toes to point across your body without letting your thigh move. Turn it out, turn it in, turn it out, turn it in. We're getting this knee to do rotation. You don't realise this knee has this much rotation, but it absolutely does. Look at my calf. You can see this bit here turning out. And this tibial rotation is important. If you've ever heard of anyone getting an ACL injury, anterior cruciate ligament, it's a horrible injury where you have to get your knee pretty much reconstructed using other tendons and muscles from the back of your leg to recreate a knee. And it normally happens when rotation happens beyond the capacity of the knee and tears or injures the anterior cruciate ligament. And this is the thing that could help you not get that injury, because you get this knee to get good at doing this. And then I want you to slide your foot on the carpet and slide it, slide it and slide it, slide it and slide it. If you're in socks, it probably works a bit better, but we're trying to load this knee up and be able to do this rotation. So we're adding resistance, we're adding a little bit of connection so you can feel what's going on. It's tiring, it's a different kind of tiring, it's a weird feeling. It's not like if you did bicep curls, you'd be able to feel your bicep burn. This feels different in here. That's it, okay. Let's go into this other leg, so let's practice it first. Clasp your hands and grab hold of your hamstring, turn this foot out, turn it across your body. Turn this foot out, turn it across your body. My foot feels all funny now on that other leg because of it being rubbing on the floor. That's it. So turn it out, turn it across, turn it out, turn it across. That's it. This, I promise you, this might just unlock a load of mobility as well. If you can really get good at this movement and controlling it, when you have to do something fast, without thinking about it like a knee-jerk reaction, literally, then your knee might just be able to be like, I can call on that thing that I practiced. I know it already. I know these shapes. Go. While we do this next bit, I'm going to just explain a little something to you about mobility. And this blows my mind whenever I explain it, whenever I talk about it and think about it. Okay, let's bring this foot down, turn it out. So, if you get put under general anaesthetic, then the surgeon could literally lift your leg up, and as long as there's nothing in the way, put it behind your head. No matter how flexible you are, your mobility isn't governed by the actual length of your muscles. It's governed by your central nervous system that protects your muscles. So when we get more flexible, when we get more ranges of motion, it's down to your body giving it to you, giving it to those muscles. All of our muscles are the same. Our skeletons can change, definitely, but our muscles have the capacity to stretch more than your central nervous system gives it. Oh, it's getting tiring now. Last couple. Yes. There we go. Okay. Then, let's have a little go at doing a stretch for our thighs, so into hip extension. We're going to practice that first, just stood up. You can hold on to something if you like. I'm just going to move sideways so you can see. I'm going to pick my knee up. I'm going to keep my heel as close to my bum as I can and try and touch my heel to my bum as I pull this back. Then pick it back up, touch my heel to my bum as I pull this back. You feel, if you put your hand on your bum, that this bum muscle pulls this knee back. This hamstring pulls your heel up. And they are a team together in this posterior chain. We're going to get this to work really well. That's it. Last one. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to sit down on the floor. As long as sitting on the floor is available to you, you should be alright just sat like this. So with that leg that you've just been picking up and pulling back, I want you to grab hold of your foot and pull it back here like this. The further out you lean to the side, the easier it'll be. Then I want you to grab this heel and pull it towards your bum and drag this knee back. If your knee doesn't bend this way, then you can do this with a strap. So you can just get a belt or a yoga strap and put it around your foot and have it here. We're in internal rotation in this hip, which is just going to train this as well. But everyone else who can bend their knee fully, you pull this heel back towards your bum and pull your knee back like this. We're just stretching this thigh. I want you to live in this stretch here, with your hand pulling onto the laces, onto the top of your foot, and breathe here. Further back you lean, the more this stretch will happen. The more you lean out to the side, the more space you'll have to help you here. I'm just going to live in this and breathe, live in it and breathe. And then, thinking about that little team of muscles that we talked about when we were stood up, I want you to tense this bum muscle as hard as you can, and it should push this hip forwards. So get your iliac crest here, this top of your hip bone. I want you to pull it forwards while you hold on to this foot, and you should be able to feel this stretch down here a bit more. Keep breathing here. Then we do a little bit of pails and rails again, because there's always got to be some effort. There's got to be some push, some pull, so you can understand and control your mobility. So I want you to start pushing your foot into your hand, like you're trying to straighten your knee, but your hand's in the way. And it should feel like you're loading up all of these muscles here. Again, it's your big effort. It should be hard. It should be really hard work. But your hard work is different to mine. You could push as hard as you can, or you might need to hold back. But eventually, there's got to be some effort to change your body. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, going 3, 2, 1. Then I want you to try and do the opposite direction. You're going to try and pull your heel towards your bum cheek and feel this bum and this hamstring turn on, and keep it on, and see if you can teach this knee how to be here in this position and how to keep this hip in this position. I'm going to teach it by telling it over and over again how to perform. Keep holding, 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 going 3, 2, 1, and straighten this leg out, and then come back up in standing. Okay, and just move this leg around again. So we're going to try a little bit of easy hip cars, hip controlled articular rotations. You can hold on to something, hold on to the wall, hold on to a person. We're just trying to get this hip to be a hip. Knee up, knee out, heel up, knee back, knee to knee. Knee up, knee out, heel up, knee back, knee to knee. There we go. Okay, then spin around. We're going to do a little bit of work with this because I want you to feel the connection to how these muscles work and what direction the tissue pulls in to change your movement. So heel up towards your bum, knee up, heel to bum. Knee back, heel to bum. Knee up, knee back, knee up, knee back. And we're just getting this hip to perform. And imagine like this bum muscle and this hamstring are strong enough to stretch the front side of your thigh. So I like knowing muscles. I like talking about what the muscles are and what they do. But essentially it doesn't really matter what they're called if you can just think about the tissue, just think about the area that you're working. So when we do this, you should be able to feel this hip flexor. When we do this, you should be able to feel your hamstring and your bum muscle. And just get that this contracts to pull this way, this contracts to pull this way. And there's the opposite reaction. So this stretches when this contracts, and then this contracts when this stretches. And it's all this equilibrium, this balance, there we go, that makes our bodies perform. So coming down in seated, grab hold of that foot that we've just been working on and pull this knee back as far as you can. And just look for this stretch. It's just a passive stretch, so we're just in it. So you might be able to just jam your foot into the floor like I'm here, and then I can use this hand to point and things, and it feels the same as if I grab hold of my foot and pick it up. Whichever version works best for you is your deal. You can change anything. As long as we're feeling this and understanding what you're doing and why you're doing it, and you're avoiding any kind of nerve pain, any grinding, any like thing that really hurts. It can be stretchy, it can be tiring, but no pain, especially in your knee. And you can back away from this a little bit and just sit in this internal rotation and get this knee to perform here. Just sit in it, and then we'll get it to push and pull, and hopefully it might create a little bit of space so you can perform a bit more. Keep holding this and keep breathing. Breathing all the way in and all the way out. I'm just feeling this stretch. I'm just living in it. And then, like always, we do a bit of work in both directions from here. So grab hold of your foot or leave it pressed into the floor, and we load this up. So you push your foot into your hand and your hand into your foot. They are fighting each other. You're tensing your bum muscle here. You should be able to poke it and feel it. You should be able to feel like you're trying to drive this hip forwards and feel this big stretch down here. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Going 3, 2, 1. Then we try and own it. Try and pull your heel towards your bum. You might get cramp. If you do, we're just waking up some tissue that didn't know about doing this movement, and it feels new and weird, so it just gets a bit scared and cramps up. It's okay. Just come out of it and come back to it and teach your body that this is safe. So this heel, this bum muscle and this hamstring is on tight. It's doing work. Going 3, 2, 1. Then coming out. And back up in standing. Now we work out how to get this hip to be a hip and how to perform. We stand forwards. So hold on to something if you have to. Goes knee up, knee out, heel up, knee back, knee to knee. We're getting this hip to do hip stuff. And you're feeling how it can pull in all these different directions. Big deep breaths. Feel it. And understand how you can get this to work without any movement anywhere else. So we're doing stability everywhere except for movement in this hip. Last one. Nice. It's cool. Okay. Then let's get more into some hamstring stretches again. I want you to sit on the floor. Actually, let's sit on the floor and see if we can get this. I want you to sit up against your sofa or up against a wall. And we're going to get as close to 90 degrees as you can in this bit here in your hips. So you might need to slide your bum back and sit up like this and try and straighten your legs. Just see if you can sit here like this. If you've got flexible hamstrings, because right now I'm not in a stretch. I've got more space to go. For most people, I would say that this gets them to stretch. And I want you to feel how your hips are on the floor and what your lower back is doing. If your lower back's trying to curl around like this, like your tailbone's trying to touch the floor, and your spine's doing this, that's those hamstrings dictating where your hips live. I want you to try and get your lower back to pull forwards and just see if you can control that. And that isn't a right and wrong thing, it never is. It's just about control. I just give you something to do and see if you can connect to it and understand it. And then let's try and bring your belly button forwards. And you can use a strap, you can use a belt, you can use something, or if you're flexible enough, you can hold on to your feet even, while we just live in this stretch. We're just going to live in it and hold it and breathe and try and lengthen your spine and feel what your lower back is doing. If your lower back is like trembling and doesn't like it, sit up. Sit up and just hang and try and see if you can get your back to go to neutral. And I use that quite a fair bit, neutral spine. Neutral spine doesn't mean anything, because there is no such thing. Our spines are made to articulate. They are made for movement as well as stability. But essentially, without the movement, you haven't got a spine. You just don't. You don't have a spine that works. So when we talk about neutral spine, there's this one shape that it should live in. I don't think that's it. We want to be able to get it to work everywhere, but we want to avoid pain. I want you to understand things, but it's so complicated. Still in this stretch here, by the way. I'm just talking while we're in it. So I want you to understand all the shapes that your spine can do. So it could be useful for you to do a rotation and hamstring stretch here, so that you get this spine to work in this shape and go this way, and then maybe even get your spine to perform while you're in hamstring stretch. And all of that is useful. No right or wrong, but it's got to be something that you can understand and you can get. So if I say neutral spine, you kind of get what I'm talking about, so that's why I use it. Okay, still in this hamstring stretch, I want you to start driving your heels down into the floor and your hands into the floor. If your wrists don't like this, by the way, use your fingertips like this. We're just trying to lift ourselves up and push our heels down. And I want you to feel like your hamstrings are on. If you don't get it, if you can't make the connection to pushing down, imagine trying to drag the carpet towards your bum. You might need to bend your knees some more and see if you can get both heels to push down equally. Big deep breaths here. Keep holding, holding, holding. Going 3, 2, 1. And then bring your hands by the side of your hips, so to the side of your hips and out a little bit. I'm going to try and lift one heel at a time. Lift it up, bring it out, lift it up, bring it back. Lift it up, bring it out, lift it up, bring it back. This is going to be hard work. If it only goes like this, I'm happy with that. It's really tough. If you can pick it up high, like this, I can't do it without making that face. I'm getting this hip flexor to perform, but it needs to be, like always, within the realms of possibility for you, and you're not putting yourself in huge amounts of danger to pull something or have it totally burn out. So if you need to just pick it up and just move it a little bit, pick it up and bring it back, then we're persuading our body that this muscle can do this thing. It's strong enough to lift. It's strong enough to perform. And the more we do this, the more resilient we get. Then last one. Nice. Let's go with the other leg. Pick it up. Bring it out. My left hip flexor never likes things as much as my right. That's why I like doing this one single leg. Keep pushing your hands into the floor. Yes. And then we go for our last hamstring stretch. Leaning forward. Maybe grab and hold your feet, ankles, knees, underneath your legs, wherever you can feel, and just see if you can understand this nice stretch in your hamstrings. Big deep breaths. Okay, after a forward fold, I really like to make sure that I check in with my lower back and see if I can understand how to articulate it after it's been jammed into a position. So, all fours. If your wrists can't deal with this position, then you can put both of your hands on the sofa, be facing in this way obviously, and do it like this, and it'll just take the pressure off of your wrists. So you're going to try and squeeze into cow pose like this. So your shoulder blades come together and your belly button comes down towards the floor. And try and look up. Hold it here. And then I want you to tuck your tailbone under. Push your chest up. Tuck your chin. And then start again from your coccyx. We're going to try and segment your spine. Going from one end of your back to the other. Let's see if you can get this to work in little tiny movements, going from one vertebra at a time, moving up your spine just a little bit at a time. That's it. A couple more. And last one. There we go. Then coming back up onto the sofa, and I want to see if we can connect that movement to being sat upright. Because you spend way more time like this than you do on all fours. And everything's so specific. Every movement we do is really specific. So I want you to see if you can come into that cat pose where your rib cage flips up, your chin tucks. I don't want you to look up just now because I want you to keep kind of in the realms of possibility, and squeeze your shoulder blades together. So you slide your hands back and squeeze shoulder blades together. Hold this here. Then we're going to try and move just from your coccyx, trying to touch your coccyx down to the sofa. You should be able to feel these muscles have to work here. And then we go lumbar spine back, and thoracic. And then you can even hang off of your kneecaps if that helps. So I've got my fingertips wrapped around my kneecaps, and I try and spread my shoulder blades, curl my spine around, tuck my chin into my chest. And then going lumbar spine first. So our belly button comes forwards. And then move further up my spine, squeeze shoulder blades together, tuck your chin. Tuck your chin, I'm going to go up the other way, spread shoulder blades, still trying to flip my ribs up. I'm trying to get my shoulder blades to go to the outside of my back by hanging back off of my kneecaps, and then pull my rib cage back and pull my belly button back. Let's go one more. There we go. And then just noodle yourself around. Explore what's happening in your spine and your shoulders, and just see if you can check in with that. And let's look at our wrists. So our wrists are sneaky, very much like our neck. You don't have to do work because your wrists have an elbow, a shoulder, a spine to rely on. So even if you pick something up, you pick it up and it does the stability this way, and then you move around, you bring it close to your body, put it down, you moved your whole spine to do the thing. Your wrists don't have to articulate unless you articulate them. And if you don't use something in your body, you lose it. So let's articulate our wrists. Let's make a fist actually, see if this makes things different. I want you to face your knuckles down, face your knuckles up. Knuckles down, knuckles up, knuckles down, knuckles up. Then, I want you to go side to side, like this. So knuckles face each other, knuckles away from each other. Knuckles face each other, knuckles away from each other. And then we're going to try and see if we can add those things together, going into this rotation. I want you to push your elbows down and go the opposite direction. And this should be exhausting. This is the hardest thing we've done in this class, I think, for me. And my wrists are strong. I'm good at wrist stuff. I can do handstands. I can balance on my hands fine without any wrist pain. But this tires me out. We're looking for, if you can find a point on your wrist. So I've got a tattoo and a watch. I can see that they are facing up. If they face each other like this, I've lost it. I've rotated at the elbows. Going round in circles and then change direction. There we go. And then just move your wrists around wherever they want to go and give this a little rest. We're training these muscles here to do their articulations for your wrist so that your wrist can perform, and hopefully it can do better at taking your weight when we're in all fours doing plank and things like that. Okay. Let's go into some final little bits, some small stuff, but it's just as important. We're going to look at how our toes perform, because without your toes, you cannot balance. If you lost your big toe, you're going to fall over. So we're going to make sure this big toe is doing its thing. I want you to push your big toe into the floor. Still sort of maybe bring your hands down and try to pull the weight into our big toe. Everything else is touching the floor on your foot, but it's mostly big toe pushing down. And then I want you to try and slide your feet away from each other while your big toe stays glued. So we're trying to get our big toe to stay out so your toes can splay. So you've got spread out toes. Modern shoes, I say modern shoes, all shoes for the history of time pretty much have come into a point. They cram your toes in to this shape that isn't natural for our feet. When we are babies, the widest part of our foot is from our toe, big toe to our little toe. That's how it should be. That helps our feet to perform so that we can balance and run and jump and land. And that doesn't stop. No matter how old you get, you need that ability to use your feet, to use your toes for your balance. So, pushing your big toes down, see how they are spread, because we'll spread them out. There should be a gap in between your big toe and your second toe. Maybe even spread the rest of your toes out and see if you can push all of them down into the floor. Keep pushing. And then, this is very hard, but I want you to look at your feet and look at the footprint and see this little arch under here. That little arch there is important. I want you to feel like you can keep this shape, so you're not going to pull your knees out and make your toes change, to lift your big toe and bring it back. Lift your big toe and bring it back. Keep lifting it and bring it back, lifting it and bring it back. And your little toes stay down. So little toes stay, big toes move. It should be tough. Your footprint doesn't change, so you can't go like this to lift your big toes. That isn't it. Big toes stay. Sorry, big toes lift, big toes down. Big toes lift, big toes down. Big toes lift, big toes down. Ball of your foot stays down as well. So this bit here has to stay connected. All of your toes stay pressed into the floor. Keep lifting your toes, lifting your toes, lifting your toes. And then go and swap it. I want you to push your big toes down, splay your toes again, so spread those feet out. And then lift the little toes and back down. Lift the little toes and back down. We're trying to get your foot to perform like a foot. We've got to reconnect to this because we've spent a lifetime in our shoes to cramp our feet in and stop our toes from being toes. Keep them moving. See how my knees are starting to go like this to help me. I'm good at this and I'm cheating. So it's got to be tough. You've got to really tune in and be strict with yourself. Practice this while you're watching TV. Do it every day and I promise you your movement will get better because everything starts at our feet. And last one. Amazing. Cool. Then just scrunch your toes up, spread them out, scrunch them up, spread them out, scrunch them up, spread them out. Just move your ankles around a bit. Perfect timing. All right. Then let's get into a little bit of cooling down and checking in with our bodies and seeing what we have going on. That takes being kind to yourself because that's important. So let's get into it first. I'm just going to set you off with some breathing exercises and then I just want you to just tune into my voice and your breathing and nothing else. Try not to let your mind wander. This is only going to be a couple of minutes. But I want you to put your wrists right on the end of your knees and let your hands hang. You're going to let your elbows sit heavy and let your shoulders sit heavy. Let your eyes close and let your mouth close. Let your tongue relax. And just slow everything else down. So all you're doing is paying attention to your breath and my voice. Nothing else. Even if there's distractions around you, even if there's distractions outside, stuff you're going to do after this, just push it to one side for now. And just breathe. And it's hard. Trying to get your body to be better. We're always after improving. It never ends. As a human, we're always pushing forwards. We hit plateaus. And we take steps back. And your focus changes. You forget about things. And stuff gets in our way. We're always trying to improve. Being kind to yourself as you improve might be the thing that helps you keep going. It helps you turn up again, to do the good stuff, to improve yourself, improve your body. Some of it's exciting, some of it's cool. Like if you're trying to get more steps, you wear your Fitbit and you hit that 10,000 step marker and your watch vibrates and congratulates you, that feels good. And some of it's not quite so rock and roll. Some of it's not quite so exciting. Working on your wrist, make sure your wrist can be a wrist and perform as a wrist. Nothing that much happens. It's only one small part of your body. If you just give it that time, give yourself the time to improve, stuff gets better. We improve as humans. You should be kind to yourself about that. Not give yourself a hard time about how fast you're losing weight or whether you're injured or whether your knees hurt. There's always something in the way. Stuff's hard. Life is hard. If you find a little bit of joy in improvement, a little bit of joy in pushing forwards, you might just connect to it in that positive way that makes you want to do it again. We all know that consistency is key. That is the thing that changes us, that consistency, turning up and pushing forwards. Okay. Bring your palms together. Let's create a bit of heat in between your hands. Rubbing your hands together. So you can keep hold of that heat. Take a big, long, slow motion breath. Bring your thumbs to your forehead, tuck your chin and roll forwards. Namaste. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it and helped you to improve. I will see you very soon. Soon we can go back to the gym. It's getting there. It's almost time. But in the meantime, stay safe and do good stuff. Enjoy yourself. And I will see you next week for more of these classes. If I don't see you there, I will hopefully see you back at the gym. Thanks guys. Enjoy your day. Bye.